Have you ever just wanted to quit? Just wanted to call it a day, just wanted to throw in the towel, and then you remember it's your own business or your own family or your own friends? That is what we are talking about today.
And you understand that the feelings are temporary.
Exactly. That's a big piece of it. The feelings are, in fact, temporary, not like actually wanting to quit and off your family and your business.
Sometimes.
That's a thing. Listen, that's a whole thing.
That could be a topic for a different day.
We are talking about the temporary feeling of needing to just quit.
Yes, which I think happens quite often, but is not talked about often.
Agreed.
So this kind of topic came up, I think, for us because in what we're doing, it's not easy and it's going all in at every like cellular being of our bodies. And I go past the point of exhaustion, which is super healthy. Definitely, still working on that and work in progress with that. But we were like, how do we not just like burn out while we're trying to like burn down an entire system, structure, platform kind of piece? Like, because we're all pretty fiery. We can go all in. How do we not burn out while doing this process?
And where do we know when to give our energy and when to hold it back? And so we had to come up with a safe word.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was like, that was a while ago. It was shortly after. Yeah. It was shortly after we came up with the questions, right?
Yep.
The intimate and involved questions we wanted to ask ourselves every week. We also realized we needed a safe word.
Yeah, I think we came up during the resentment conversation and topic that we had. And I was like, we feel like we need a safe word. We're kind of obviously there's a lot of teenage boy sexual joke energy between the three of us. So we're like, what is our safe word going to be? And we kind of sat there and bounced some ideas off and things of that nature.
What were some of them? Do you remember?
Well, reverse cowgirl came up, but we realized that is unfortunately said far too often for it to be
the safe word.
Exactly, because we just would be throwing that up on a daily basis.
We'd be like, wait, do you really mean reverse cowgirl, or do you like safe word mean reverse cowgirl?
And we should probably explain what we mean when we use our safe word. Like, true. Yeah. So
pineapple too, and like other There was a lot of fruit analogies in there. I remember that, but I don't remember specifically which ones.
Yes. Well, I think to go back to what Jade said, what is the purpose of our safe word? And it's basically when, Cass kind of alluded to it, when you hit that point of needing to quit and, being done, right? And overworking yourself, it's not always easy to put into words how you're feeling. And when you're at that point, at your threshold, to use the words to say, I'm done and I need a break is not easy. And so having a safe word is really crucial so that you don't have to use words. And we all know what it means when you say the safe word, that it means Cass needs a break, or Jade needs a break, or Kayla needs a break, or whoever needs a moment, or a few moments, or a day, or the rest of the day to come back into themselves and give themselves a break. So without further ado, we settled on the safe word,
ZULU,
because we will never use that word for any other reason.
Not to be confused, I think the safe word was determined though before Lulu was around.
I know. I literally just thought of that. I'm like, I will never forget Zulu because it rhymes with my puppy's name, Lulu.
So one day Jade's gonna be like, Lulu, and we're gonna be like, oh my god, Jade, what do you need? She'll be like, I need this dog to stop shitting in my living room. Like, oh, we can't help with that.
Which she does not do anymore, by the way.
Good girl. She figured out outside.
She's come a long way.
Yeah, but I think all of us have on our human design charts as our not self theme frustration.
Nope.
So no, yours isn't frustration. What's
hers? Is anger,
rage. Why is that funny?
So much sense. So yeah, so we can start to feel those things, and that's when we need to use our Zulu word, right? And
Mhm.
also, Cass, the truth is, right, that you don't have your root or your sacral motors. Like, you can burn out really quickly, and that's okay. That's the way you're made. So it's important for you to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And I
just to
think,
clarify, I think, go
oh no,
ahead.
you go. No, you.
I was going to say, I feel like 80% of the time that we utilize the safe word within our team will probably be me. If not more than 80%, I'm pretty sure it's going to take
Took
an
the
act
words
of
from my
God
mouth.
for Kaylin to ever use it.
I was literally just going to say,
Of
which
course
of
you were.
course, I was
Yeah.
going to say that all of our thresholds are different.
Mhm.
So when Cass needs to use it, it's going to be completely different than when I need to use it or when Jade needs to use it. It's all because we're all different. I won't need to use it in the same capacity that Cass will, but maybe I'm overwhelmed at home, which is, as Jade, loves to point out in my chart, is if my home is not in order, it is hard for me to function. And so maybe my home isn't in order. And so I'm feeling out of it. And so I need to Zulu, which with a new baby, there are more opportunities for me to not feel safe in my home,
Mhm. For
I
sure.
just got a visualization of Kaylin being like on her deathbed in the hospital and be like, Jade and I'd be like, do you need to call a Zulu? She's like, no, I got this.
I can't help myself. I was
That's
in labor
awesome.
and like in Slack. It
I
just
could not
can't help
believe
myself.
how much you were working during labor. I'm like, I'm like, surely that's not from Caitlin. What? Makes no sense. But Cass, you said you did that too.
I did do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would not be
I think
me.
we sold a package like as I was laboring. I forget who it was, but one of our clients, it doesn't matter, but we sold a package while I was mid labor.
Mhm.
I
So
think I sold my first one while you were in
maybe
labor.
it was when I think I can look back, but I'm pretty sure my Labor Day was like one of us our highest grossing days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So
Mhm.
I needed to
Love
pay
it.
for my maternity leave.
Yeah, we were working. We were working our booties off while you were on maternity leave. I think because I was trying to coordinate for sessions with you.
Yep.
For like coaching sessions. And you were literally, having E. So
True.
it's the way we do things here.
Yep. Just drop a shorty, as Kaylin likes to say, and keep going.
It's true. Like nothing ever happened.
So I think there's a good conversation to be had kind of about, which I feel like Jade, you can take the lead on this, about all of our personality types and thresholds, kind of dive a little bit further into that.
Mm.
Because you know more about us, I feel like, than sometimes we know about us.
For sure.
Well, we kind of talked about Cass's. I think that for Kaylin, like, you've got those motors so defined, and also this need to see things through to completion. So sometimes we have to tell you, Zulu, Kaylin, you can't work anymore. Like, stop. So it's like we're using it on your behalf. We're staging an intervention we are going to make the words come from you, Zulu.
Yeah, I think the universe also kind of puts me in my place a lot of the time. Like, to be super honest, last week I just like had this like deep desire to like start getting back into it, like up into and including I was like in Slack and like messaging with Katie and stuff, and it felt so good. But then it was like instantly like the baby stopped sleeping at night, and like he had been like pretty good consistent with his sleeps, and like he stopped sleeping consistently and then like started to not feel well, and I'm like, all right, I'll take a step back. Like I understand, like it's not time yet. So it is this like weird balance too of like I feel good and I have this like really deep desire to like be present and like start working on stuff, but then also I need to be aware of like this balance of like, okay, it's literally been 2 weeks, so, or it's been a week, like you got to give space.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny as you're saying that too. I was just thinking back, like with Amelia, I kind of did the same thing where I like dove back in and I was like, oh wait, hold on, just kidding, you guys, not quite yet. and then like would go like another week and then like dip a toe in again and like kind of play that game of like, I think of Finding Nemo when I think of the fish that goes in and out of the coral
Yes.
reef.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
I feel like that's essentially what we're doing.
Totally. And I feel so fortunate to be surrounded by such support that I can do that. Like, who has the opportunity to do that, to like dip their toe and be like, oh shit, gotta pull back. And it's like, I'm so like supported by you two and by everyone else on the team that it's like, it's okay. It's cool.
Yeah. And I think for me, I still have never used the word, but I need to use it. So
Mm-hmm.
I am still in that space where I am accepting, my nature and my words, and like learning how to be like, boundary setting.
Mm-hmm.
So because if I push past the point, there's nothing wrong with using Zulu. There's nothing wrong with feeling like you want to. I'll even use a specific example if you want to do raw, real honest.
Yes.
So when we are working on our beautiful Oracle cards, you guys are going to know exactly those Oracle cards, and that one session we had together where we'd be right before we came up with Zulu. We didn't have Zulu, but I still needed in that space to say, I'm frustrated, and I know that because I'm getting nitpicky. And so that's my not self-themed frustration. We need to stop. And I didn't have or use my words there. And you were getting frustrated too, Cass. And so I think that it would have helped beautifully if we would have had that word. That would have been great. And I'm sure you would have used it, Cass, but would I use it? That's the $1 million question. Like
Today you would have.
I think so.
I feel like you've gotten much better about using your words.
Yeah.
And I think what is so interesting is you went from not necessarily afraid, but just like
Hesitant.
hesitant to use your words, where like a Zulu in that moment would have been really helpful, to now at the point where you can just like say like, I can't do this today because I don't have the capacity to do it. Like, you don't even need Zulu because you can just put all your words out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will say too, I feel like going into this kind of partnership and trio, in particular, kind of the spiritual side of things, there's obviously baggage, pieces, masks, etc., filters that we all have around like expectations of self and expectations of others. So like, I know for me, it was like not even necessarily like expectations of self, but like, how do I don't even know how to verbalize this. Let's see, give me the right words. How do I not piss off my partners by something that like is coming through, or how I'm going, like what I'm going to say. And then there was this element. So it wasn't like, you think there was like a collective hesitancy of like, okay, like, and I don't even know what it was, but it was like, I know like for me with like, just thinking back for other like business partners, I've had other business partners where it never felt equal. It felt like, they were going, not at all, or not fast enough, or not enough, or whatever, or I was taking all of this, or I was, going further, or, had a bigger vision, or whatever the case may be. And I was like trying to like find that balance, I think. So there was like hesitancy around for me what that balance was. Until stuff like this started coming into place where we could be like, okay, cool, I've gas pedaled and now I need to stop, if that makes sense.
And what's so great, I think, is that we have this group around each of us that, like, Cass had to use Zulu last week, and Jade and I were like, perfect, we'll step in. Like, I'll take this, Jade take that, like, done. And you were covered, and the space was created for you to take your time.
Which was so needed.
Yeah. And then you were refreshed and ready to go and back to yourself.
See, my thing is switching from one side of the brain to the other. Like, to go from, like, for me, it's very challenging to go from this ethereal pulling out information from spiritual team guidance, etc., like very esoteric world, to being like, okay, let's talk about like tech development staff, and what do we need for code, and what do we need for back end, and what's our software system, like who, like, etc., etc. Like, there's two totally different brain pieces. So for me, like, when I had
Yeah.
Correct.
So for me, like when I switched back and forth in that day, I think I switched back and forth like 10 plus times. I was like, holy fuck, I'm dying. Like,
Yeah.
to go outside
Well,
of
one
my
is
comfort zone.
outside your body and one is literally so grounded in your body. And so to go
Correct.
boo, 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 like that's exhausting.
It is. So those
Yeah.
are like times when I like after something like that, I'm like, okay, I need Friday to go spend time outside and to ground and to like figure out what's the next piece is now that I have all of these pieces of information.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then generally for me, like when I take something like that, when I take that next day, okay, I'm like, okay, like I have the day or like I have whatever 6 hours carved to like wait and like kind of recalibrate. And like within 10 minutes of it's almost inevitable, like information starts flowing again. So, but it's like creating that space and that process of that.
Uh-huh. Allowing it to be there, allowing it to
Exactly.
come through. Yeah. Yeah. God, I love a good safe word. And I think
Yeah.
it's important for more than just work relationships too. I think in your interpersonal relationships, like I have safe words with my husband too, of like when it's like this conversation cannot be productive right now, where we're both at.
Wait, you shared it. Will you share it again? I can't remember. What's your
Yeah,
safe?
well, we've got multiple. So depending on the situation. So ours, if we like are in a conversation that's just not going to go anywhere, we call it a Bravo, and it's a 15-minute break. Sometimes it's longer than 15 minutes, but 15 minutes is generally like, when you have children, you can't always like 15 minutes sometimes isn't appropriate amount of time when you have a child that needs something in 15 minutes. It's like, okay, well then we'll have to address this when said child is in bed. So, but
Bravo.
there's our Bravos, so necessary, so helpful, have done so much good for our relationship. And that's been like a few years that we've been using Bravo, and highly suggest them in your personal relationships as well. Take a Bravo.
That was one of our considerations for words too, when we were trying to figure out words.
I think,
was
and I think that led us to Zulu because we're
Yeah.
like Alpha, Bravo, Zulu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also Bravo,
Mhm.
I still think standing ovation. So that wouldn't have worked for me.
That put a song in my head.
What song did it put in your head?
Beyonce. I'll send it to you later. I'm not singing it right now, not with this voice.
Not with the stuffy congestion that all three of us have.
Exactly,
A topic
because
for a
all
different day.
connected.
Exactly. I think all of us were or are presently somewhat congested. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way that's happening when you're 3,000 miles collectively apart. I was like, oh, watch it.
I know. No, I'm seriously keep going. I'm so sorry I gave you that cold cat.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's true.
What's funny
Yeah.
is we'll all miraculously get better before we meet up in a couple days.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good time. I mean, by the time people listen to this, we will already be together, but we are so excited to see each other in person.
Yeah, that is a kind of a little sneak peek, because that means the podcast episodes you guys will hear in a couple sessions, you guys won't see 3 cameras, you'll see 1 camera,
Yay.
which is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And will we need to use Zulu while we're in Florida?
100%.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so, says the generator. She's like, I hope so. I hope we can.
No, not I
To the
hope
point of
so
exhaustion.
from that perspective. I hope so from the perspective that if you have that many people in a shared space, the odds that you will need a safe word are fairly high. And so I hope that we all feel comfortable enough to use it when we feel it or when we need it.
We should also probably share it with the rest of the team, to be fair, because our whole team is going to be there.
It's true.
That's true. We haven't yet. I think that we have come really far in our communication, and that makes sense. I mean, we've been working together closely for a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So,
That.
so that is a beautiful amount of time to really get to know each other and just figure out what works best in communication. And we had lots of legs up and lots of help from just studying each other's charts. Like we could look under the hood or in each other's underwear drawer, so to speak, like so consistently and constantly that it really helped.
So true.
Taking
All the dirty
everything in
secrets.
my body not to turn around to have an underwear drawer conversation.
Oh my
You can
God.
you can segue into the underwear drawer conversation.
No,
Jay
that's,
doesn't have an
that's a
underwear drawer.
podcast for a different time.
Yeah, Cass likes to say let's look in your underwear drawer, it's empty. And I'm like, goddamn right, it's empty.
Empty. It doesn't exist. There's no need to have a drawer for something that you don't own.
I put socks in it.
That's no longer an underwear drawer. That's a sock drawer.
Good point.
Anyway, maybe we'll have an undergarment conversation on the podcast. If you're interested, let us know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Zulu for this podcast. And let us know on social if you guys have a safe word, if you need help coming up with a safe word, and if you guys have ever heard about safe words in business.